but I would quit every Sunday. By Wednesday, the thirst just comes. So I didn't have a child. I don't have a husband. I'm like, aye.
All this money.
Ah.
Nani fresha. You
Raha
are like,
yote.
I will spend all of it.
Raha yote.
Good evening and praise the name of the Lord. It's again the time we bring to you the Gorgeous Woman Show. And I'm inspired just to remind you about Deborah in Judges chapter 5 and verse 7. The Bible says that village life had ceased until I, Deborah, arose. And I believe this is a season for every woman to arise and be counted. And as always, we are having a list of wonderful guests. And one of the guests that I have for this show today is none other but Wendy Kenya. Wendy has a very interesting story that I believe you should just sit back and watch. A young lady that has overcome addiction, and of course, she's a professional. So sit back and hear her story. You're welcome, Wendy.
Thank you.
It's good to have you around.
Thank you. This is exciting.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
So tell me a brief about who, if I was to ask you, who is Wendy?
I think there's a lot, but I can just try and narrow it down.
Correct.
Wendy is a daughter of God.
Oh, amen.
Very enthusiastic.
Yes.
I'm a daughter. I'm a lawyer by profession.
Great. Wow, that's so nice.
Thank you. A lawyer by profession, an advocate of the High Court.
Oh, great.
I also consult on cybersecurity issues.
Oh, nice.
Having done cybersecurity and data privacy and
oh
combining
my God.
that
okay.
with my legal career.
Yes.
I also do ministry and run a program called Celebrate Recovery.
Okay.
And apart from that, I am a legal trainer. Great. And yes, so I train for a company called...
In actual sense, I'm dealing with a Deborah here. All those hats you're wearing, and you're just so graced to have it.
Yes.
So tell us the difference. What's the difference between a lawyer and an advocate? You said you're a lawyer, but you're an advocate of the High Court.
Yes.
So educate some of us.
A lawyer means that you have done your undergraduate program for 4 years and graduated. When you go for your postgraduate diploma and you are admitted to the bar, then you're an advocate of the High Court.
Ah, okay. So it's like probably a lawyer is an unlicensed.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, so you can work as an in-house counsel, but you cannot stand before a judge or magistrate.
That's nice. How long did it take you?
The 4 years, and then after that I went for postgraduate.
So how, like, to become a lawyer, there could be a young lady here that wants to say, I want to be a lawyer. How is the journey? 4 years, and then a year, and then pupillage for 6 months. Yes. For 6 months. So basically it's
about 6.5, 7 years.
Oh, wow. It must be exciting the day you admitted on the bar.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Great. Any children, married?
No, no. Very, very single. Or rather...
Why have you emphasized very, very single?
Meaning I'm not married.
Kwani naona heartbreak mahali?
No, heartbreak ziko. Heartbreak ziko. Heartbreak ziko.
I know.
I'm not married.
Yeah.
I want to say seeing someone. Yes, seeing someone. Not married, no children.
Okay. So where were you born?
I was born in Nairobi. Yes.
Which part of Nairobi?
Riruta. Grew up in Riruta.
Yeah.
Moved to Ridgeways and then to Runda.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you have any siblings?
Yes, I have an older brother and a younger brother.
An older brother and a younger one. So you're in the middle.
I'm in the middle.
Your parents
middle child problems.
No, actually they are not. They may not be problems. They are advantages. At all, actually,
yes.
Because you're able to hang out with either.
Yes.
When this one doesn't work, and you're always the one being chased after.
Yeah. And I'm the only girl, so there's a bit of excitement about that.
Great.
My brothers love on me completely.
I know. That must be so great. And your parents are alive?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, they are.
Awesome.
Yeah, I grew up with both of them.
Yeah.
And God has been faithful. We all practice together now. They're all lawyers.
Oh, they're all lawyers?
Yes.
Oh, great. Yeah. Awesome. And where did you go to school?
I went to Consolata in Westlands.
Oh, this Consolata one. Ah, great. Yeah. From all the way to high school?
No. High school, I went to Kenya High.
To Kenya High.
Which is just
now I understand you. I understand you now. So when we are talking, I'll make sure that everything is in line. I understand where you are coming from. It must have been
That's a bit of pressure, but yes.
No, it's not a bit of pressure. It's a good thing. You've done so well, and it's good to appreciate that. It's not everybody who sits on that chair sits on that chair because they're not making it. It's because they have a story to tell.
Yes.
And even when you're in your great moments of success, sometimes things don't go the way you desire they go.
Yes.
So did you grow up in church?
I did. I did. I grew up at Repays Baptist.
Ah, nice. That's a beautiful church.
It is.
Yes, it is.
It is.
Great. Yeah. And tell me more about your journey in salvation.
I try and remember. I can't pinpoint to the day I gave my life to Christ. I must have been very young. Yeah. Maybe class 2, class 3. But also I think in high school and all through college, I was the one for Who Wants to Get Saved? Me. Niliokoka mara mingi.
You're not alone. You're not alone. Here is another one. I got born again. Every altar call. Ilikuwa inasikia Yesu ni mtamu.
Yes.
And then you come out. Okay.
Yes.
But now which one is the real one that you can say?
The real one, I believe, and we'll talk about my journey. Yeah. When I went to rehab, I rededicated my life to Christ.
Amen.
One of the things that I struggled with a lot is that I lived a double life.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. So I really enjoyed the things of God and at some point served Him for a number of years. But I enjoyed this other side of life. Okay. And partied mercilessly.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I got to reap the consequences of trying to mock God.
I know.
Yeah.
Wow. It's sad, but the good news is that you're here.
Yes.
Because it ended well.
Yeah.
Our viewers, that's the story of Wendy Kenyanjui. That's a beautiful story. A young lady that is zealous for God. And above all, she has a message to everybody that is hooked to something, that you can come out with the help of God. And that's why she's here. See you after the break. Yeah, welcome back, our viewer. It's me again, Reverend Ruth Wamweyo, and the show is The Gorgeous Woman on CTN TV. Every time you follow us, just know that it's a family-friendly TV station. You are not going to get surprises. You just get what is morally right. You can watch with your children and watch with your family. So, Wendy.
Yes.
So, tell me more about your story. So, you grew up in a Christian home, in Repays Baptist. So, you went through Sunday school, through youth, and then school and finished.
Yes.
How did you arrive at being, I want to be a lawyer? Is it because your parents pressured you, or is it because you wanted to?
It's because I wanted to.
Oh, great.
Yes, yes. And what happens if you follow suit or just follow the footsteps of your parents? Yeah. There's an assumption that everyone was like, oh, did they make you do it? Yeah. Actually, they didn't. When I said I wanted to be a lawyer, yes, they were excited, but they told me, just go back and think again. Yeah. And how I know I love being a lawyer is that if I went back to school today, I would still do law.
Wow. So your mom and your dad are both lawyers?
Yes. Yes.
So I want to get into the a conversation in that home with legal minds that are seated there. So is it a normal home, or do you quote cap so and so?
Not at all.
Is it like just normal?
It's very normal.
Very normal.
It's very normal.
Oh, so your career has in no way affected the way you live as a family?
Not really. Okay. Not really. I think when we get to the office, because now we work together.
Oh, wow.
Yes, we work in the same office, which is nice. We thoroughly enjoy it.
Yes.
So we just remove that hat.
Yeah.
If we are doing things together, you have the home hat, and then you wear the office hat, and it's an honor to work with them, honestly.
No, you're an interesting person. Now I'm actually very interested.
Yes.
Your dad and your mom are your bosses.
Yes.
Or like you work together.
We work together. At this point, they're not my bosses. We work with them.
Yeah.
So I want to say we all work at partner level.
Yes, at
but
partner level.
Way more
of course, they are more senior than you.
Of course, yes.
So does it come out like the child-mother-father relationship, or you are able to just keep it professional?
Keep it professional. Before, I used to intern with them during my school holidays. I went to the University of Nairobi, so we used to have long holidays. Then I would be the tea girl, the messenger, anything. I was doing everything that was not law. And I would just be their KYM and do everything. Now, at this point, we work together very seamlessly. It's very exciting. At the office, I call them Mr. and Mrs. Kinyanjui, and I'm Miss Kinyanjui.
Okay.
Yes. So if you come in, unless when you look at us and we look alike, normally you would not tell. You know, there's no mom and dad and everything. Yeah.
So why? Because I look at you and you have so much admiration for your parents.
Yes.
What is this that is so exceptional about them that makes you call them Mr. and Mrs. Kinyanjui and still be that proud Miss Kinyanjui?
What's exceptional about them? I think they just have really, really loved family.
Okay.
And they've poured into us, and we see their effort.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh,
yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Every parent there pour into your children. And I think it's been a dialogue that has been going on that I think it's time to begin to have the succession line. Yeah. You're raising people that are going to succeed you, not when you're old and tired,
yes.
but at least you groom them as you grow up.
Yes.
So now tell me, when you are introducing yourself, you said that you veered off from the road.
I did.
The narrow road, and you went into the wide road.
The wide one.
So tell me the journey, how did you step out?
I think it was just after finishing Form 4.
Yeah.
Right before getting into college, and then now when I entered college, I had never made a conscious decision that I'm not going to be drinking. And slowly I was introduced to alcohol. I think before I used to hang out with a friend and a few friends of mine, and they would have a drink and I would have a soda, and then the second round, you know, I would have a juice, or do the first round Coke and then Sprite and then Fanta. Then you're just slowly told, no, just try this one. And I started with black ice and enjoyed the mellow feeling. And slowly one was not enough, so I tried 2 and then 3. And I just realized that, or rather started taking it as my social norm, that people enjoy my company better when I'm a bit tipsy. You know, I'm a bit more confident, I have a better strat and everything. But one of the things I didn't realize was I was a lightweight. Later on, I learned that our bodies have an enzyme called alcohol dehydrogenase, which allows you to absorb alcohol differently. I think in layman language, you just talk about it as tolerance. Oh, mine was very low, so people are very different.
Okay.
So if someone had 4 drinks and I had 3 or 2, I would be the same level of drunk. Yes, wow. But I always fought it. I was always the one blacking out, the one who would black out, sleep in the car and everything. Honestly, I should have quit at that point, but I always fought it. Yeah.
So let me understand. So your friends are the ones who influenced you to drink. So where were you getting the money to drink? Because you're in college.
That little money. Yeah, that's fair. Anyone who is in college, I think, is first of all broke all the time.
I know.
We would take some horrible, horrible drinks. And I lived at home. So number one, I always felt like my friends were having more fun. So I needed to do my damage between 8 and 5. So, so if a class was cancelled, we would very cleverly tell ourselves, because our classes were 3 hours, if we just buy a bottle now, that 11 to 2 class, if we buy a bottle, we'll drink, we'll sober up, and then we'll be ready for the afternoon one. Anyone can know that plan never worked.
Definitely.
Yes. And we would take, I mean, first you start with a Smirnoff and all of that, and a few other better ones.
Wow.
But, you know, slowly you're doing some nasty crap. You're just, mnachanga to 100. Yeah.
Wow.
Yes.
That was not even like a startup. That was somebody that was like a pro. You started on a high gear. That was awesome.
Yes.
According to the context of the world,
yes.
You wanted to be the big girl.
Yes.
So did your parents notice about your change of behavior?
They did. They did. And they would talk to me regularly. I also just grew up in a background where alcohol was not particularly frowned upon. So I was not really excited to start drinking because it had been available even in the larger family. So for when they saw that I couldn't handle it, it was like, okay, Wagari, just, there's something off. Yeah. But I fought it, I have to say, and it really strained my relationship. I'm a family person completely. And it really strained my relationship with my parents, with my siblings, and with a larger family. All of a sudden, I didn't really enjoy time with my family, which I always have.
Yeah.
Yes.
So did it affect your academics, or you still continued in school?
I still continued with school by the grace of God, and finished and got my degree. Started working somewhere, and the lady I worked for graciously mentored me into teaching. So I used to teach on succession and estate planning, which I still do until now. Yeah. So I was going to school for my postgraduate, working half day and drinking heavily.
Wow.
Yes.
So which incident can you say was the most remarkable in your drinking journey that probably triggered your turnaround?
There are many. I like to say, hey, nilichoma picha kabisa.
So it's not one. Okay, tell me. Okay.
Anyone who has struggled with, in fact, I don't call mine addiction. I call it alcohol abuse, because I didn't drink every day. Yeah. And at some point, I had an 8 to 5 job for the longest time. But when I drank, I drank. Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, there are several incidents. But I remember one just very, very distinctly, driving from Ngong Road to Roysambu. And I remember dropping some friends of mine, dropping them early in the morning at about 6:37 and going back to the club. And I don't remember that trip. And that, I think for me, that scared me. That scared me completely, because I thought, okay, I'm going to die, or I'm going to kill. I would have killed my friends, or I would have hit someone else and someone else would have died. That for me was scary. I never really drove while drunk, but for some reason this time my friends thought I was a sober one to drive. That for me was very, very scary. Okay. Yes, it means you're autopilot.
And that dawned on you after you sobered up?
Yes, yes.
Wow.
Yes, that for me was very scary. I think also because of my legal background, I know the consequences of such actions. And I thought, hey, there's something really off here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Did you ever try to live that kind of life?
Yeah.
What were the struggles?
I would quit every Sunday. Hey, my promises to God. Yeah, I'm done. And honestly, I want to say God is faithful. Yes, he hears those prayers. I remember at some point I used to tell God, surely, I'm really struggling. But I would quit every Sunday. By Wednesday, the thirst just comes. I
Is
fight
it a thirst that comes, or it's peer pressure?
It's I wouldn't really say peer pressure, because no one is really forcing you or anything. Yeah. But by Wednesday, you're like, wiki, it's about time. You fight it. Thursday after work, we would go somewhere for a band and everything. By Friday, 5 p.m., I'm like, hey, yes, let's hit.
Is it like, would you say boredom pushed you there, or what was the
I think the life motivation? Is very luring. Okay. Because you're making quite a bit of money. So I was working and I was teaching. So I'm making quite a bit of money. And you look like you're living this successful life. And the people I was drinking with were professionals. You know, lawyers, doctors, IT people, engineers. Yeah. So you're doing it with professionals. Yeah. And you don't have too many responsibilities.
Oh, yes.
So I didn't have a child. I don't have a husband. I'm like,
all this money. Nani fresha. You
are
like, I will spend all of it.
Okay. Yes.
So what was that maybe give us another remarkable experience that you had when in your drinking spree, that even today when you remember it, you say, this is bad.
I was always a person for excitement. So so normally I did Bible study, and I would teach Bible study, and I did admin work.
Teaching?
Yeah.
Okay.
So if I stood in front of a crowd, I would always wonder, how do these people know me? Do they know me because I've taught them Bible study, or we did that together? Do they know me because they were in a class that I was teaching, the legal one? Or did they know me because I was on top of a table at a club? And I used to be those ones for, hey, let's do. I was one of those.
You are cheerleading.
Kabisa. Wow. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, the ones who tell the DJ, put this song and then gather the crowd. I was one of those.
Wow.
So I didn't have major negative incidences, you know. there were a couple of times that, you know, I got home really, really drunk. And, you know, I had to call my brother, or my parents found me just struggling to enter the house. And those were nasty. Those were really, really nasty.
So how did your parents help you to cope with that? Or did they in any way react in a way that made you change your mind?
I want to say yes, but I think I was just so adamant on that lifestyle. And for me, I was adamant not to quit. I was adamant to drink better, to drink more responsibly.
Wow.
Yes, yes. And a few incidences, I would call my dad while drunk. That's just, yeah, yes. You know how people dial drunk? Mine, I would just remember him. I'm like, yeah, let me tell him the way I'm struggling. Or not struggling, or tell him where I am. Yeah, and he picked me up twice. So it got to a point where I'm like, I need to keep this phone away. Juu nilikuwa nachoma picha na najisema. So it was such nonsense.
Wow, and your dad took it gracefully?
I mean, he came for me twice somewhere. And eventually when I got to my end point, he's the one I called, and I just broke down, and they came for me.
Wow. Yes. And on that note, wow, congratulations, Baba Wendy. Wherever you are, you're an inspiration.
Yes, it's both of them actually, but yes.
Yeah, actually, yeah. So
yes.
See you after the break.
Yes.
Wow, Wendy, what a story. So when you called your dad, what would you tell him? Like, after you sobered up, would you remember what you told him?
Sometimes, yes. I would just be in a lot of trouble. Let's just say that. A lot of trouble.
What is a lot of trouble in your home? You know, like in our time, a lot of trouble. My friend, it was serious. You would be spanked, you would be like all kinds of punishments. Yes. But of course, in your generation, it could be different.
No, me, I've been beaten. Me, tulikuwa tunachapwa kabisa.
When you're drunk.
But now, no. But now, you know, as an adult,
yeah,
you're not, you're not
spanked,
beaten.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
So I'm trying to understand that time that you said enough is enough. What triggered that? Because there could be so many people struggling, and you've said that you told yourself time and again, this Sunday I'm stopping. So what made you reach to that place where you said enough is enough?
So just a bit of backtrack.
Yeah.
A few months before, I had asked a friend of mine, I'm like, is this all there is to life? Were we meant to just grow up, go to school, go to college, get a job? I mean, is this it? Because I feel like it's a scam. We were lied to. Just, I was feeling very, very unfulfilled. And my friend was like, I don't know, but I don't think you're in a good place. And she didn't have the answers, but I remember her noting that I don't think you're in a good place. So fast forward, it's a Monday morning, February 26th, 2018. I woke up.
You remember the date?
I do.
Beautiful.
It's a Monday morning. You're supposed to be ready for the week and excited. I had gone out that weekend. I had even led some prayer walk at Resurrection Garden. And that weekend I had gone out, and I woke up and I just had this overwhelming sense of helplessness and hopelessness. Like I shouldn't be where I am. I had wanted to pursue, you know, school thereafter. Opportunities lost. Yeah. And I was just in a really, really bad state.
I know.
And out of that whole, I like to call it a funk, I wanted to have a drink. And I think that for me really scared me.
So in actual sense, what really triggered your wanting to drink is maybe could be a sense of helplessness.
Yes, and hopelessness.
And alcohol gave you that false hope.
Yes.
That you feel worthy and feel more acceptable.
Yes, yes. Yeah, so that Monday morning, out of that whole thing that I was feeling, I wanted to have a drink. And you know, normally you think the drunkards are the ones you see on the trench and, you know, kwa mtaro. That day I realized that I am she. Like I am that person.
Wow.
And that really scared me. So again, I called my friend and a few others and I said, I'm not in a good place. And my friend told me, I'll come and see you after work. And I told her, imagine, don't come. Don't come. Today I'm going to tell on myself. Nitajisema. I walked down the road. I was living at State House Avenue, walked down the road to a nearby joint, had shots. We call it Dutch courage, when you take alcohol to have the courage to do something. And I called my dad.
And you didn't see it coming until that day?
Yes, I think
when
I didn't realize the magnitude. That Monday I should have been going to work. And I loved my job. I worked in a top law firm somewhere in Upper Hill. So I should have been going to work. And I wanted to have a drink. That's when I knew this is it. This is it. Wow. And I just needed help then. I called my dad and I was frantic. I was breaking down. I said, just come. I'm not in a good place. Just come now. And I was crying, and he came with my mom, and they asked me what was wrong. And, you know, first of all, I was drunk. But I said, I need help. I'm a working alcoholic, and I can't hide it anymore. And my life is crumbling. And that's a hard call to hear from your daughter.
I can imagine.
Yes, and just the shock. And my mom had heard of a place called Teen Challenge, and she just asked me, would you go somewhere? Would you see someone? And I said yes, and she said, when can we arrange? I said, today.
Today? Today.
So with a handbag, I went to rehab. She'd had an aunt of mine talk about a place called Teen Challenge. She called her.
That's the beauty about mothers. Mothers have hands-on solutions.
Yeah, she'd heard of this place. She didn't even know.
Yeah.
She said, she called my auntie. For some reason, my auntie was home that day. We went to see her, and they took me to rehab. And I went to a place called Teen Challenge. It's a faith-based rehabilitation center on Kiambu Road, Mushroom, after Vendegua. Yeah. And the program was for a year, and I was like, nope. I never wanted to do a program that's for a year. It's a voluntary place. But I knew for sure I never wanted to feel like that again.
Yeah.
Yes. If it would take away, if it would take a year for me to get the help, so be it.
So by this time, how many years had you been dependent on alcohol?
I think I'd say I started drinking right before 18, 19 to 26.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's like an accumulation of like 5 years?
Yes, 5, 6, yeah, about 6 years, 5, 6 years.
Okay, so you went into the rehab that day?
Yeah.
So tell us the journey a little bit.
No one wants to go to rehab. That's why we have sessions like this. So hopefully we inspire people. It was hard. It was a ladies' rehab. It's like going back to boarding school.
Oh, so you like stopped everything?
Oh yeah. In fact, that day, I called my brother and told him, go and tell my boss I'm quitting, and my supervisor. And I had guts that day. And I told him, tell him I'm quitting because I think I have an alcohol problem and I need to deal with it.
That was
And he's like, are you sure? Do you really want to tell him the reason? I'm like, tell him I'm quitting because of that.
Wow.
And my boss was in shock. Was like, are you sure? I don't think so. And I'm passionate about talking about my story because it means you can crumble without people knowing the magnitude.
Correct. And actually, by the time people know, you crumbled a long time ago.
Yes, because as long as you're showing up to work and doing what you should be doing.
So your bosses and your supervisor didn't notice there's a problem?
No. And I know that because, I mean, I've interacted with him after that, and he was like, you know, is there anything we could have done to help it? And I said, no, it is just poor choices, and I had to bear the consequences. Yeah. Yeah.
And especially when you're this outgoing,
yes, you can mask it. You can mask it very well. Yes.
Yeah, and actually it's a personal journey. Yes. Nobody else can do that for you.
Yeah.
So when you went to the rehab, how was that 1 year? How was the 1 year?
I want to say good. I was ready for the change. You don't have your phone.
Oh.
They take away your phone. You don't have TV. Well, you watch TV like once a week. It was only Christian. You have chapel every day. It was like a discipleship program.
Okay.
It was like a factory reset. It was hard.
Apati animal turned into a sheep.
Like I know. Yes. And it was eye-opening. I think one of the things I told God is, I've done life my way, and it has backfired many times. Let me try this your way. Let me try it. And I met so many ladies. And I think for me, just meeting ladies, I met ladies who are from the streets, who are doing hard drugs, who've done prostitution. And for me, it was God just handpicked me and saved me.
Wow.
Yeah, because who was to tell I would not have ended up on the streets or
dead?
Yeah. You see people in their 40s, 50s, maybe even 60s, and you see the trajectory. So for me, it was eye-opening to see that God had truly just handpicked me and saved me. Yeah.
So did you have to deal with the withdrawal symptoms, or you were just okay?
I struggled with sleep for the first week.
Okay.
Completely. I want to say there were a few hallucinations. I think I remember dreaming there were spiders, but I really struggled with sleep for the first week. I wasn't sure, maybe it was the fear, or just the anxiety of what is going on, or maybe withdrawals. But because I worked 8 to 5, my withdrawals maybe were not that much, and I didn't drink every day. Yes.
Oh, you didn't drink every day?
I didn't drink every day. Yeah.
So you also go through therapy when you're in?
Yes, yes. It was a discipleship program, and you also go through therapy because you want to find out. For me, really, I wanted to find out, how is it that I got here? What was the tipping point? And one of my prayers was, God, show me, because if I don't figure it out, should the same set of circumstances present themselves, I will be back here. Yeah.
And you were able to identify that?
Yes.
So that is where your passion to speak to people that are hooked up to alcohol or drugs came from?
Yes, when we were there, we would go to missions and to churches and to some schools and to colleges. Yeah, you start to do that.
And you wouldn't run away?
No, it's a voluntary program. Okay. Normally, so no one is forcing you. Okay. And I realized I did need to be here. Okay. Yeah, yeah. And the rehab has run internationally for the last 60 years. Oh, yeah. And it's a 1-year program. I was never comfortable with the 1 year, but I figure there must have been some wisdom.
Yeah, definitely what you've done for 6 years.
It's not going to go in a month or 3 months.
3 months, yeah.
And remember, I have tried my way and it's backfired. So I was ready. I was ready to try it.
So you've not talked about your relationships. Did you have any relationship during that time?
Was I dating?
Yeah, dating, yeah.
No, I wasn't.
So you were just
having... No, I just wanted to party. In fact, I didn't even want I was like, why have one relationship? Let's just all be one big happy family that goes to party and enjoy life. I was not even interested. Yeah.
Oh,
yes.
Great. Yes. But you said you're seeing someone now, which is a good thing.
Yes.
Of course, you have a right to privacy, but maybe there's a young girl that is watching here, and maybe probably your story, maybe but they may feel like if they've gone through that, they may not find somebody that will love them. So what are the things that you learned in the rehab about yourself? Or maybe through this journey that you've learned about yourself that you would use to affirm somebody else that has gone through the crisis you've gone through?
Number one, that there's no situation that God can't turn around.
Amen.
There are people I meet now and they're like, I can't believe you used to drink. I'm like, what? Like, God can change my story like that? That there are people who look at me and don't see the drunk, blacked out girl.
Definitely.
God can really change your story. And there's a verse in the Bible, Joel 2:25, that he repays the years that the locust has eaten. He does that.
Yes, he does.
He really does. And I am a testimony of that.
Okay.
Yes.
So for instance, if you found yourself in a place like you were before, and you don't have supportive parents like you did, and you want to come out, what would be your advice to such a person?
Number one, pray. I really believe God hears the desires. Yeah. God had my desire that I wanted to change. I had struggled in that life. And the thing about that life is people never talk about the hangovers, how much you're breaking up your family, how much money you're wasting away. And you will find that God will always create channels. For me, it was my parents. I've seen people get help through their siblings. Oh, yes. I've seen people get help through their workplace. Yeah. But God will find a way to reach you.
Amen.
He will.
But of course, when we pray,
yes,
that is so very good. I'm looking at now your career. You've come out of rehab and you step back into your career, and you come back to your community. And definitely now the word has spread around. Yes. That Wangare ametoka rehab. So how did you deal with maybe the stigma, if there was any? I was very fortunate. Yeah. I think I was just very blunt and bold. So when I was in rehab, I told my family, okay, so me, I'm here, so some of my family members will visit often. And rehab is a judgment-free zone. I mean, you're already at the bottom. How much worse can it get? It's okay. So, I mean, some of my aunties and uncles and cousins visited me there.
And I just didn't want to hide. I know there are people who go to rehab, then your family says you go to Dubai, or you went to the UK, or you went to Eldoret. Or I just told my parents, if you don't want to talk about it, that's fine. But don't lie to people about where I am. You'd rather not see.
You are really born again. You are the light of Christ ilikuwa imeingia kabisa.
Yeah, I was like, please don't don't lie. If you're not comfortable saying, that's fine. Don't tell people I went to America. Apana. Apana. So I got out, and honestly, the plan was never to share my story. It was just to slip back into society. I started volunteering at Teen Challenge. I would go there a few weekends. I went back to work. Now I didn't go to work for my former boss. He had asked me whether I would be interested to go back and work there. And as much as I was proud of my decision, I was not in a position to be looking over my shoulder, who knows which version. So I preferred to go and work with my parents, and that it was a soft landing. I started talking about my story one to one person. And then one day I told my pastor I'd like to share my story. Oh. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
So on the like during the service.
Yes. So my pastor had once come to Teen Challenge to do chapel. We had a joint chapel, the men's center and the women's center. And I had always told everyone, I can do missions anywhere, but Ridgeways, CND, because, you know, there people know me.
Yeah.
And one day he comes and I'm told, oh, when they just open the guest, our guest speaker is coming. I opened the gate and lo and behold, it was my pastor. And he's like, oh, when do you work here? And I'm just like, oh.
Oh, ask me your story.
And I'm his lost sheep, Condor.
When alikuwa na lead at a prayer assembly. Wow.
I was actually leading in another church then because I'd moved out of home. But I mean, I grew up in Ridgeway, so from Sunday school and youth and all of that. So he knew me. And he was just very interested. He went and asked my parents and just asked them, can I visit her and just walk with her? My parents were like, yeah, sure. So he started to visit me and would just at least encourage me.
Wow.
And when I got out, he still walked with me. I would see him maybe once every 5-6 weeks.
Wow.
So I told him I want to share my story, and he asked me, are you sure? I said, yeah, I'm ready. He told me to ask my parents, because me sharing my story exposes our family. Definitely. And my parents just said, if it's going to help anyone, go ahead.
Wow. Our viewer, we are looking at somebody that has been through the potter's house. I believe her story is about God making someone to be who she's meant to be. See you after the break. Welcome back, our viewer. We are in the last segment of this show. Wendy Kenyanjui is my guest. Wow, what a story that God has given us. Because actually, as we were talking behind the scene, it's like your journey is like God was intentional about making you to reach a particular generation. So there's what you've told me about recovery, Celebrate Recovery. Yeah. Tell us more about that ministry.
So this Bible is an NIV Bible.
Yeah.
It's written Celebrate Recovery.
Yeah.
The auntie who directed my parents to Teen Challenge had visited the US, and she gifted me this Bible.
Yeah.
And at Teen Challenge, you know, you're really into the word. So when I shared my story at Ridgeways Baptist, a lot of people came to me and they were telling me what they're struggling with, their families, their friends. And at some point I thought, okay, I should not be a lawyer. I should be a counselor.
I know.
Yes. Then I remembered this Bible, and just apart from being a Bible, it has all these recovery stories. It has about this ministry and how the principles that they use. And I just got very interested. So I thought, I wish we would start a program called Celebrate Recovery. And I thought, okay, if I tell my pastor, Pastor Wanji, he'll ask me how do we go about it. So I thought, okay, let me do my background. So this story that I'm telling you, I wrote it down in an email. Celebrate Recovery was started at Pastor Rick Warren's church at Saddleback by a gentleman called Pastor John Baker.
Okay.
So I wrote my story down. I sent it to John Baker. I sent it to Celebrate Recovery. I sent it to Pastor Rick Warren. I sent it to Purpose Driven Life Ministries.
Hey.
I wrote it on their website. I wrote it on their Facebook. I wrote it on their Instagram. I wrote it on their LinkedIn. I wrote it on their Twitter. I wrote it everywhere. And I thought, okay, I've asked. If they ignore, fine.
So what was your request in that story?
What would it take to start this ministry? Are you okay starting it in my church and in my country?
Wow.
Would you be willing to equip me or start it yourselves? Because I don't think everyone can go to rehab.
Yeah.
And they all responded. So it's in 37,000 churches in the US, it's in Europe. A few people have tried to do it in Kenya. And they said, come and learn about it. So I packed my bags and went to the US.
Hey!
Yes.
This bottle has taken you to the US.
Let me tell you, hey, those years that the locust has eaten.
The Lord shall restore.
My mom sometimes tells me, hey, it's like you're a con woman. When people look at your story, they don't know the things that you are doing. But yes, so I went to Saddleback and got trained about the program.
How long did it take you?
So I went in 2020. I went in January. I was supposed to take at least 3 months.
During COVID?
I was supposed to take 3 months.
Yeah.
Then COVID hit, so I was stuck there the whole year.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, so during that time, visited many churches with celebrity recovery. But God just really worked. There are people who took an interest in me and our church and supported us.
Wow.
A certain organization called Recovery International, which helps people start celebrate recovery ministries out of the US. So by the time I was coming back, they had already shipped materials to the church and just offered to support Repays Baptist and any other church that starts the ministry.
Wow,
yeah.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah.
So what has been the success stories that you've had?
So Celebrate Recovery, let me just tell you about it. It helps people deal with hurts, hang-ups, and habits. Meaning this, that we have all been hurt.
Hang-ups, and habits.
Yes.
Okay.
That we have all been hurt, and we have all hurt others.
Yeah.
Whether it is growing up in dysfunctional families, whether it is going through tragedy or trauma or loss of loved ones, even in adult relationships, marriage relationships, family, social. We go through all kinds of abuse, emotional, sexual, financial, physical. If we don't work through these, we develop hang-ups. Which is how we see ourselves or others because of the things that we go through.
Correct.
So sometimes you go through something and come out bitter or angry or resentful.
Oh yes, I get you.
Or self-esteem issues or feeling that you're not good enough or control issues. And again, if you don't work through them, you may develop destructive habits. And some of the destructive habits are, like, for me, it was alcohol.
Yeah.
For some, it is hard drugs. For some, it's sexual integrity issues. For some, it's food issues, whether eating too much or depriving yourself from normal amounts of food. It's the external things that we do. Or love and relationship addiction, where you don't think that you're enough unless you are affirmed with a partner. Actually, the one question it seeks to answer is what comes in between your relationship with God.
Wow.
For all of us have sinned and fallen short of the glory
of God. So it's actually a Bible-based recovery.
It is. It's actually a Bible-based recovery program, and not just for alcohol. In fact, substance abuse is about a third or less. It's all these other things. And
actually, you know, they're the base for what all these things, for, as you've said, the habits are formed because there are things we are not dealing with.
They're underlying issues.
Underlying issues.
Yeah. So sometimes you find that you're judging yourself or others because of the things that you're doing or they're doing, but they're always underlying things.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's what it helps.
Great.
Deal with.
So from what you've started doing, what are the success stories?
The success stories are that people have started realizing the things that they're struggling with, and not just, oh, if I say praise God, amen, it ends. How do you work through it? Oh, yes. Just scratching the surface. So we have a service every Friday. We host it every Friday evening at Repays Baptist at 6:30. And I've just seen people starting to work with, through things like anger or codependency or fear or anxiety. Yes. And where is it coming from? Things like that. You start to realize that there are quite a number. Please join us one of these days.
I should. Definitely. Thank you for that invite. I'm trying to look at how we are wired. Like, there's something you say that when you came out of rehab and you wanted to testify, what I would call testify, or maybe probably share your story at Repays Baptist, everybody was worried about how your family be perceived.
Yes.
We still have a long journey when it comes to disclosure of such things.
Yes.
How are you dealing with it, or has it been easy for people to come and open up after you shared your story?
Initially, I was afraid.
Yes.
But I always knew that I want people to say, surely, if God helped Wangari, then he can help me.
Yes.
So initially, I used to just cringe and just be like, oh my gosh, when someone tells me, oh, I heard your story or I saw you. But you would be amazed how many people are struggling. There's so many people who are calling me and my parents saying, okay, these are the things that we are struggling with.
Yes.
So that story that we thought would be shameful,
yeah,
God has come to glorify himself through it.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's a wake-up call for everybody. Don't just die when you're quiet. Just reach out to somebody like Wangari. I know she'll give us her contacts. I'm here. Many more people are there. Just reach out. Don't just die alone. I want to look at now your relationship with your parents after that. And now that the ministry has been born, what are the gains that you can say, I am so proud that this has brought us here?
For me, it's if God had never done anything else, but just restored my relationship with my parents, that would have been enough.
Wow.
If that was the only thing he did, that would have been enough. I had shown them dust. Hey.
I can imagine.
But God has restored. First of all, we have a loving relationship. We work together.
Yes, you told us.
And we enjoy it thoroughly. So I have come to just, in the last, since 2018, five years now, enjoyed just that fellowship with my parents. And I don't take it for granted.
Oh, wow.
I really, really do not.
Wow.
It is such a blessing, that they get to see the reformed Wendy.
Yes.
My biggest fear when I was in that life would be if my parents would pass on, the person who they would go knowing is this fallen person.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
and
so
that is too much of a burden.
That would have killed me. That would have really, really killed me.
Because many people imagine that people, I would call them alcoholics or people that are now hooked to alcohol abuse. You imagine like they have no conscience because they appear bold and,
no,
rebellious.
They do and they struggle. You know,
they struggle.
We say that the man takes the drink, and then the drink takes the drink, and then the drink takes the man. So at first you're in control. Yeah. And then at some point, it takes over. Yeah. Yes.
Once it takes over, that's when now the feelings of helplessness and dependency begin to come in. Yes. Wow. So tell us more. Where do you see yourself maybe in a couple of years in this ministry as a lawyer, as an advocate? Of course, if you have any dreams to be a mother, to be married and all that. Just tell us now, because Wendy Wangari is a dreamer. Where do you see yourself? Yes, and you're full of life, which is a good thing. Yeah.
Hopefully I'm enthusiastic enough.
Yes, you are.
I would love to excel in my career.
Yes.
But more than that, I want to continue doing ministry.
Amen.
Yes. Right now I serve as an intern at Repays Baptist because I brought in the ministry. Yeah. But even moving from that, I'd love to register a foundation. Yes. To start doing celebrate recovery, equipping churches to start celebrate recovery. Yes. Talking in companies and organizations because I struggled behind the desk. Oh, yeah. And I can't be the only one. But I would also love to equip young people. So go to universities, go to high schools, go to schools, and Celebrate Recovery has a program for teenagers and for children. Correct. Because some of the things that we struggle with is there are some things, hurts and hang-ups that you didn't address as a child. And some of them are just part of growing up. Yes. Just part of growing up, and there's nothing much you would have done, but if you know how to deal with them early enough. Yes, just unpack them, but I think you just stuff them somewhere. Pack them somewhere. Then it's like shaking a Coke bottle. I know. Sure. And then when they, in Alipuka. Yes. So how would people reach you? Are you on social media? Number? Yes, I'm on social media. I'm not very good at it, but my email is wendykinyanjui@gmail.com. Yeah. And I will give my number. That's okay. It's 0734 501615. 5016. Okay. Yes. Say it again. 0734 501615 or 0701 046625. Could you give us one, the 0734, so that somebody can get it? Yes. 0734 501615. 1615. Yeah. Our viewers, what a joy to have hosted my guest, Wangari. Wangari, you're just likable, and if you want to get into that journey of recovery, just call her, and you can also call our number 0728 316 317. From me and my guest, bye-bye.